Welcome to the Leadership Interview Series. This is a reboot of the series we had started back in 2015, and the Workforce Planning Group has done a great job in upgrading it and making this a really exciting venue. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We're really excited about this. Not just to show off one of our favorite leaders, Tamie McGowen, but also because we're really demonstrating what it takes to be a leader, maybe giving some of you ideas on what you can be thinking about for your future career development. Now, today's interviewee, Tamie McGowen, is someone who has taken quite a journey with the department, and I think you'll find her story fascinating. I look forward to hearing about her leadership philosophies and lessons learned from that journey, and we hope you're going to enjoy today. I read a quote that stuck with me that said, a good leader is one that defines reality in the beginning and then at the end says thank you. And how they navigate in between that beginning and the ending is really the art of being a leader. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Tamie and getting some tips from her. So without further ado, let me introduce our interviewers today from the Division of Human Resources, the Office of Talent Management. We've got Jason Solis and Harriet Simpson.
As Chris mentioned, we're doing a few changes today, and one of those is our biography of Tamie McGowen. So we actually met with her. We've got some videos and some fun photographs. Hopefully some of you saw the trailer. So it's just a little sneak peek of what we've got in store for you today. So once Bernard's got that queued up, we'll give you a little idea of a bit of the career journey of Tamie McGowen.
I grew up in a small town in Northern California, Willits, California, and I went to college right there at Mendocino College in Mendocino County. It's in Ukiah. And I had to work to pay my way through school. And one day I was on lunch break, and I'll never forget, I drove onto the parking lot of Caltrans. I had heard people talk about Caltrans. I saw them out working, and I thought, oh, state job, that sounds like a really good thing. And there were a couple of guys walking across the parking lot, and I said, hey, how do you get a job here? And they kind of smiled at me, and they said, well, you need to talk to Joanne. She works in that building right over there. And I ended up applying for an office job that they had available for like a student assistant position. And so I sat down with her and ended up talking to her quite a bit and doing an interview with her. And when she called me to let me know that I got the job, she actually said, you know, during our conversation, I realized that you really like the outdoors and you seem like you would really enjoy working perhaps outdoors. We have a new opening that just came up in our maintenance division, and it would be working out on the highway. So I wanted to offer you an option. Would you like to either take the job in the office doing the clerical work that we discussed, or would you like to go out on the highway and work out on the highway doing maintenance? And I said, you know what? I'm probably going to work in an office for the rest of my life. I want to work out on the highway. So I was super excited. I started that summer with Caltrans, and we worked 12-hour days doing grinding operations and repaving out there. And so it really gave me a perspective that I love, because right now one of the most valuable things that I do in my job is manage the highway worker safety campaigns. And being able to actually work out there in the field and experience the semi-trucks buzzing by you from inches away and your hard hat flying off because they're going so fast, and the other multitude of experiences that you're out there going through really gives me a different perspective. One of the things that really continues to stick with me is safety. So I really enjoyed that experience, and I think it brings more light to what I do right now. There's an organization called ATSA that actually in 2007 awarded me with their Highway Safety Award. It's a national award, and in fact the person that got it before me was Congressman Oberstar, and it was for promoting highway safety. And that was really exciting. I was the first female ever to receive that award, and so it was exciting to get out there, but I think that it had a lot to do with the respect that they had because I had worked actually out in the field. And so that's something that I really treasure now that I had that experience. Working in Willits and Ukiah maintenance stations there in District 1 was a great experience, but at one point I had to move on to Sacramento State University to go to college. And one of the first jobs that I did was transitioning right-of-way parcels on microfiche to another computer. It was called a Kodak car system. And I also worked for a blind office manager. I really enjoyed working with him. He ended up being one of the greatest mentors that I had through my career. So that was about 25 years ago, and here I am today. Amazing how fast time flies, but it's been an incredible experience. Caltrans has been good to me and for me. I've had the opportunity and honor to work in a variety of different offices within Caltrans, and once I got my degree in communications, I came to public affairs in 2003. I love my job here. It's exciting. It's sometimes stressful what I do, but I absolutely love it. I was very fortunate to be appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger in 2007, and even more fortunate to be reappointed by Governor Brown in 2011. So here I am. I'm the Assistant Deputy Director over Public Affairs, and it's just been an absolutely wonderful experience. I love my team, and that's one of the things that I treasure so much every day is the teamwork that we have here in this office. So Caltrans, like I said, has brought many opportunities to me and many experiences that I will forever treasure. I love it here.
What an amazing bio, right? I mean, just the journey where she started and where she is today. So let's formally welcome our Assistant Deputy Director over Public Affairs, Tamie McGowen. It was a great song. It was a great song. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. I know Harry
you.
and I are very excited to have you here with us today to talk about a little about that bio. We saw your journey here through Caltrans.
I'm excited to be here and excited to see all of you. So thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Well, let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
Yep.
All right. So we know that you are the Assistant Deputy Director over Public Affairs here at Caltrans. So what does that job entail?
Well, a lot of things, a lot of variety. As the Assistant Deputy Director, I oversee public affairs, and that includes media affairs. That's the crux of what we do, is handling a lot of media inquiries that come in, media relations. We handle the talking points and the videos that you see that come out of the Director's office, preparing talking points for the Director, sometimes the agency secretary. So we have a lot of involvement there. I also oversee the audio-visual unit, the photography unit. Good job, you guys. And I have functional oversight over 50 public information officers statewide, and I have about 20 staff here in headquarters. It also includes coordination of the Public Records Act, events and awards coordination, and in fact one of the most important things that I feel that we as a department do every year is the annual Workers' Memorial. And that's something that my team, primarily Carolyn Moreno, really works very hard to pull that together each year, and that's wonderful. And then lastly, I'll also mention that I oversee the Honor Guard. The Honor Guard is another big piece of that Workers' Memorial and part of what we do here at Caltrans that puts a positive light on and meaning, I think, on that.
Incredible. So with such a diverse range of responsibilities that you have in your role, do you feel that there's been any one core value or maybe a couple that have really stuck with you throughout your professional career?
So one thing that jumps out at me is it's very simple, just responsibility. Responsibility to me is just, my parents taught me at a very young age, if you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. And if you say you're going to be somewhere, be there. It's about being responsible and owning what you're doing. And if you can't be there or you can't make it, let them know. Give them a reason why. And it should be a very good reason as to why you can't follow through on your commitment. But to me, that's so important. And then the other piece of that, I think, is also responsiveness. I always try to really be responsive. I may not always have the right answer that people want to hear, or maybe I don't even have the information that they're looking for right there. I might have to send them somewhere else. But I just think it's so important to let people know that they've been heard and just simply respond. It's really a simple thing, but I think it goes a really long ways.
Well, thank you. Yes, those values resonate with me very well. I mean, responding, and then, as you mentioned, as what your parents taught you, right? Just to say what you do.
Yeah.
So key in actually being a successful leader like yourself. So thank you for sharing that. So you've had quite a journey, as we mentioned. And let me ask you this. So what you know now, with all that you know, what's one piece of advice that you would give to, let's say, a new employee who wants to be successful and make a difference here at Caltrans?
So I think Caltrans is a huge organization. It's very large. And I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself is learn as much as you can about the department and how all of the pieces work together. Because so many times we have silos and we have bubbles where we'll go and sit down and we do our job and we do it great. But you might miss out on the bigger picture of how all of that fits together. I think that's a really important piece. And whether it means working in a variety of areas within the department, I was fortunate to be able to work in numerous areas before I landed in public affairs. But whether it means going out and actually working those areas or just seeking out that information. We have so much information online, but also volunteer. Look for opportunities to step outside of your normal, regular, daily operations and look at things that you can volunteer for. One of the best things that I volunteered for fairly early on in my career was to be a certified exam chair at the State Personnel Board. And that gave me such a perspective, not only on what it took to be on that side of the interview panel, but also on the other side. You know, there's a lot that you can learn from those kinds of processes. So look for things that you can do that bring bigger perspective into Caltrans as a whole. I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, branching out, pushing yourself, maybe meeting new people is definitely something that, you know, that we can all take back with us. So you mentioned, you know, trying different areas and really broadening your horizons. Do you think that maybe in that perspective there's a need for mentorship in a career? And is there anyone particular in your career that's had an impact on you as a mentor?
Absolutely. I think that it's very important to have a mentor or numerous mentors throughout your career. And it's funny that you bring this subject up because just yesterday I was actually staffing Director Lori Berman for an interview where she's going to be featured in a magazine. And they actually asked her about mentorship. And I thought that her insight was very good. It wasn't just, yes, it's important to have them. It was that it's important to seek them. Because you can't just expect that they're going to land in your lap. There's opportunities. We have a wonderful mentor program in the department that you can take advantage of, but look for people that you think could be mentors. I think people want to help. People want to be there to help you along the way and to pay it forward perhaps for someone who had helped them previously. So I think it's really important to do that. In terms of my career, there's one in particular, and I mentioned him on the video as well, but Mitsu Ogata was a great mentor for me early on in my career. He really took me under his wing and showed me what to expect with civil service. And I mean, he went so far when he was helping me prepare for interviews. He would call me and leave questions on my telephone, and then have a way of timing. I'd have to reply immediately after I heard his question and reply and give him the response back. You know, it's little things like that, but there's all kinds of opportunities that you can do that. One thing that he taught me that I want to make sure everybody here hears too, because it's amazing how these things can come about. But take every exam you qualify for. That's one of the things he kept telling me. No matter what it is, if you qualify for it, just go take it. Just go take it. It gives you good practice and, you know, puts you through the process. And I thought, well, okay, I'll do that. So he was, as I mentioned, he was a blind office manager, and he was aware of an exam that they were giving out at the Department of Rehabilitation. He said, here's one, go take that. My first exam ever. I went out there and I took the exam, and I did not do very well. I went out there, but I thought, okay, it's practice, right? It's good practice. So I went through that. Didn't rank real well on the exam. But then one day, his boss came by, and it was right around the time I was graduating from college, and there was a freeze in the department. And it was Debbie Bowler, and she oversaw the Division of Administrative Services. And she came up to me one day and she said, hey, Tamie, I just want to tell you, I've really noticed a lot of the work that you're doing, and I'm going to see what I can do to get you on during this freeze. I was like, wow, okay. We're going to see if we can get you a reasonable accommodation hire so that you can be the eyes for your boss, because he was blind. So I said, really? Okay, wow. And it was happening so quickly that I didn't even realize what had happened. But the reality was, because I was on that exam list from another department that I never thought I would ever use, I did it for practice. And like I said, I didn't do that well. But when they transferred the exam over to Caltrans, they were able to clear it quickly because nobody at Caltrans, nobody else really was there for that job. And I was suddenly at the top. And they were able to pick me up as a reasonable accommodation. So keep your options open and really take advantage of the practice that those exams provide, but it also might give you an opportunity that you really aren't expecting.
Oh, thank you. It sounds like you had quite a mentor.
Many. I mentioned one, but yeah, and I'm so thankful for all of them, and it's really important to definitely go through those experiences.
Right. And it just shows, you're talking here many years later about these mentors that you've had and how they had a tremendous impact just on you. That's incredible. Yeah. And it's so awesome that Caltrans has their own mentorship program as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a really neat program.
Yeah.
Well, we know that you started your career in Willits and then in the maintenance area, right? Correct?
Uh-huh.
And then you were a student assistant as well. Here you are today as Assistant Deputy Director of Public Affairs. Is there something interesting that some people might not know about you?
So many of you might be aware. There's a lot of couples in Caltrans, right? I actually met my husband at Caltrans in an elevator about 25 years ago. So that's kind of a fun fact, and then he was at the department for 32 years as well. He retired as the chief environmental engineer. So we are Caltrans. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing here in this department. And probably another fun fact is that I used to sing in a country rock band on occasion when I was younger.
Really? Do Harry and I and the audience get to have a sample of that? Can we hear something? Have you prepared anything?
Not today. I remember Daddy's hands folded silently in prayer and reaching out to hold me when I had a nightmare. You could read quiet. See, I could go on. That was a fun. That's an extra fun fact.
Did you put that on your resume? That is awesome. Awesome
Not
job.
on my resume.
No, you should join the Caltrans choir or give us performances regularly. It'd be great.
Cheer them on. I wish I had time.
So it's always great to hear some personal stories from our leaders, so thank you for that. How about being in public affairs? You must hear some really interesting stories. Are there any in particular that have really stuck with you throughout the years?
You hear lots of stories. Some really great stories, some not as great stories. But you hear a lot of stories. But one that I have to say that always sticks with me, and I honestly get chills every time I tell this story. It was, how many of you read the CT News? You guys familiar with the CT News? And have you heard of Hats Off? The Hats Off section is a great opportunity for the members of the public to write in and give kudos to our employees, right? It's a great resource for supervisors to really give accolades, right? Put it in the CT News. So one of the Hats Off letters that we got one time was so impressive, it actually went clear to the governor. The director at the time actually called the governor because he was so impressed by it. But what happened was we had, as the people writing in described it, they were up in the snow. They were stuck up in the snow, and it was time for a family holiday. And they were getting ready to venture out, I think, to the Bay Area or somewhere to go visit family. And they got stuck. They got stuck in the snow, and they felt like they were devastated. They weren't going to be able to make it to their family holiday. And as they explained it and described it, a white Caltrans truck with angel wings came around the bend, and it came over, and this gentleman in maintenance got out and helped get them out. They were unstuck, they were ready to go, and they took a $20 bill, and they tried to hand him a $20 bill, and what do you think he said? Just doing my job. No, thank you. I can't take it. Drop it on the ground. I can pick it up. No, just kidding. Didn't say any of those things. But what he said gives me chills every time. He responded. They said, "Here, take a $20 bill." He said, "You're a taxpayer, aren't you? You've already paid me." Just pause on that for a second. I mean, that is so powerful. If you were a taxpayer, a member of the public, and you're driving along and you get some assistance like that, I mean, think how far that goes. We always talk about in Caltrans, what can we do to improve our image and the perception of Caltrans? I'll tell you what, the image that he portrayed that day for Caltrans, you can't even talk about how much that's worth, right? So if everybody could do that, if all the field employees knew, like, this is a great way to respond. Work on that, Tony. It's just a fantastic response. So that's one that truly sticks with me. I just love that story.
Yeah, it's really incredible and just inspiring to see the impact that it had that they wrote in. And I mean, that's just amazing, amazing. So how about any personal stories from your years, maybe your years in the field?
So this is a funny story. I haven't shared this story with very many people, but I did want to share this story today. So actually, you saw that I worked as a student assistant in highway maintenance. And sometimes as a slow flagger, they call it, I was doing slow flagging out on Highway 20. It was very slow out there, and sometimes, you're sitting there, you're waiting for the next car to come along. And one day I was out there, and I just thought, what can I do? I was into poetry at the time. What can I do to kind of pass the time but still be, in touch with what I needed to be doing? And I just started going through words in my head. And as things were happening around me, I started actually writing a poem in my head. But the funny thing is literally things that were happening is what I was memorizing. And it was, what I did was I went out on break and at lunch, and I actually found a piece of redwood burl. There was a lot of redwood trees there, and it had fallen off, and the inside was still an onion skin, still really easy to write into, and it was laying on the ground. So I went up and I got a stick, and I just started writing, remembering what I was writing. And it started out, it was, "Here I stand in my designated spot, flagging for Caltrans on some special I got. It has its highs and lows. In fact, one day I froze, but later received a Pepsi and a rose," because the truckers used to stop and give me Pepsis and snacks. "Oh, look, there goes a lizard, and here comes a car going fast as a blizzard. I hold up my sign to tell her to slow. Do you think she saw me? It sure doesn't seem so." It goes on and on. But anyway, I will share with you, I hid the piece of bark on the side of the road because I was embarrassed to share it with my crew, and I drove out there after work and went and got it. But I've never let that piece of bark go. I still have my piece of bark with my poem engraved on this thing. And so that's I actually have it in my entryway in my house as people walk in. So that's kind of a fun story for me.
And that's amazing. Quite the poem writer as well. Very catchy, very catchy. Well, wonderful. Well, like we mentioned, you've had quite the journey here through Caltrans. Could you share with us maybe one or two accomplishments that you're really proud of, that you wouldn't mind sharing with us today?
So I think one of the things that I have to say, I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I feel is the most important thing we do in this department is the Workers' Memorial. And I think that where we've taken that as a department from I started in 2003 in public affairs, and it has just continued to grow, and I mentioned my staff earlier who have really helped make that happen. And the Honor Guard, we've come so far. They used to stand out there in jeans and a hard hat, and boy, if you haven't seen them today, I mean, they're amazing. And so I really feel good about where we've taken that, because I think it's so meaningful to this department. It really honors our fallen workers and also our employees, and it's a good safety reminder. So I think that's really important. The other thing I'd mention is the news flashes, the Caltrans news flashes. I'm really excited about those. That was an idea that I actually got when I was at a national conference with other state DOTs, and I actually got the idea from Arizona Department of Transportation, and they were doing this, and I thought, you know what, I've got a whole audiovisual crew back at home, and basically what they're doing is going out and recording trainings. That's about it. So how come when the media is covering some event or some big highway, something that's going on, and they're covering it, why aren't we covering it and telling our own story? You know, that just makes sense to me. Like, we should totally be doing that. So I came back, and within like 2 days, I received approval from our director at the time, our agency secretary, and the governor's office, and they were all on board. Yeah, let's change I came back and changed the mission and vision of the audiovisual unit. And to this day, I mean, we're doing them. They're wonderful. They're exciting. And it's a way to not only educate the public about what we're doing, but also our own employees. That's important to me. I really feel like if our employees are going to watch something on the news that night, I think they should be hearing it from us as much as possible. So we try to do that as much as we can. And those news flashes, we try to put out about one a week. Try to keep that fairly consistent so that, you know, if you get too many, people might start throwing away. If you don't get enough, they might forget about them. So I figure that's about a good sweet spot.
Fantastic, yeah. Incredible accomplishments. I mean, especially things that have such impact and such a vision of the image of Caltrans, both internal and external. I know I enjoy the news flashes whenever they come out. I've had the privilege to be a part of one, so that was exciting. And then to be a part of, of a group that honor our fallen workers. It's just incredible. So great accomplishments to be highlighting there. So those are all our questions from our office, and we solicited some questions from emails, so we're going to cut over to those now. Looks like we've got time for just about all of them, so that's nice. So the first question is, could you describe the transition you experienced going from maintenance and in a field setting to a different program and in an office setting?
Well, it's definitely different. I will definitely say that. There's definitely different culture out there, but and it's not just going from the field to the office. It's also going from the district to headquarters, because I think sometimes there's really a different perspective from people, and it's important to remember we're all one, right? And I think what the person asking that question, I think what they're probably really getting at is, how do you prepare yourself for that next, that phase if you're making that transition? And I think my response to that is not just from field to an office, but really any job or any position that you're striving for. Take the time to go and really learn about the job specifications, get the duty statement if you can, but really find out what are the qualifications that are required in that job. And then go through and write them out. What are they? What do I need to do that? And then go through and take the step of honestly assessing yourself and really trying to identify, where do I fall for that skill set? Am I a 3 here, or am I a 9? And on those ones where you're rating yourself lower, look for opportunities to go and increase your skills in those areas. We have a wonderful learning and development office here that has a lot of training opportunities that you should definitely take advantage of. Those are great resources. And as I mentioned earlier, volunteer, but take those opportunities to go and find ways that you can learn more about it. One of the best things that I did towards the end of my last years at Sac State is I went out and I interviewed someone actually here at Caltrans. It was a manager at the time, and I just asked him about his job. What do you do? What is it like here? And then I did it again later in my career when I was going for another job in a place that I wanted to potentially apply for. I went and people are happy to do that. Just sit down. When was the last time you went and just kind of take 10 questions and go meet with somebody that you think, hey, I bet they have something to offer, and sit down and just say, like, how did you get here? What are you doing? Kind of like what we're doing a little bit today, but in more specific areas, maybe where you're interested. Don't hesitate to do that, because you really can get some insight by doing that.
Thank you.
Did I answer that question?
Yes,
okay.
Wonderfully. Thank you. Our second question is, regarding upward mobility, what is the best piece of advice someone has shared with you that you still carry with you today?
One of the things that has always stuck with me, and I actually it goes through my mind on occasion, and I think it's important for everyone to think about this, is every single day is a job interview. When you come to work and you're doing your job, people are watching you. And they're seeing you. If you're out there giving 100% or 110% and you're going above and beyond, they're watching. They see that. They experience that when they're working with you. And it makes them feel good about you. It's establishing your reputation and your character. If you're doing 30%, they also see that. When Deborah Bowler approached me that day, I was walking in the park and she going to lunch, and she came up and she approached me in the park and said, "I've been noticing the work you're doing. Wow, okay, somebody's watching me. Somebody noticed something that I was doing." I think that's an important thought, just to think about that every day. When you're in your job, be passionate about it. Do something you're passionate about. If you're not passionate about it, find something you are passionate about so that you can excel and feel good about it and want to go that extra step and want to go that extra mile, because that's what builds your reputation and your ability, I think, to really look at future opportunities.
Absolutely, and you never know. One of these days you might be Tamie McGowen, and today will be your interview, so you never know. Okay, next question is, what soft skills do you feel a leader should possess?
So, I think empathy. Empathy is really important. Because whether you're talking about your supervisor and why they're asking for what they're asking for, why do they need what they need, your employees, your coworkers, where are they coming from? Put yourself in their shoes for just a minute and try to understand why they're asking what they're asking, or what they're looking, why they're looking for what they're looking for. Take the time to really listen to them and understand their perspective. I think if I had to pick one, and I think another, I'll take two, is communication. Once you do that, part of that is communication, and just really making sure that you understand, you're willing to talk about it, and part of that will help you empathize, I think, too.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Our next question is, being in public affairs, how do you know what to properly say to when someone publicly asks you a question, especially when it's being recorded? Do you have a guidebook? Do you go from what your parents taught you? Or do you follow some ethics or law standards for public speaking?
I don't know what to say. No. I think a lot of people think that public affairs, public information officers, it's an admin position. We can take an administrative officer and pluck them over there, and tomorrow they'll be able to get up and do that job. And it's just not true. There is a certain skill set that's required, and there's training, and we spend a lot of time preparing and learning and knowing how to do that. One of the best little tidbits that I like to leave with people, or when I'm preparing someone to go out and speak, is keep your message short and simple. 3 to 4 bullets, 8 to 10 words each. And then circle back to that. If you're going into a job interview, you kind of know what you want to say, right? There's certain things and certain points you want to make and get across. And if you're going through your interview and you haven't hit those spots yet, you're going to make sure that you hit them. Well, it's very similar in public speaking or when you're speaking with the media, and it's fun sometimes to anticipate beforehand. What do you think they're going to ask you? And then practice. You have your 3 to 4 bullets. Practice spinning back to those messages, or turning back to those messages that you want to portray, because those are the key messages and key points that you want to say. So I think that's really important. And then the other piece of that is, it's okay if you don't know the answer. Are they ever going to ask you something you don't know? You bet. They're going to ask you probably a lot of times things that you don't know. But there's a key to that. It's okay, first of all. Acknowledge it, own it, be responsible. And what do? You follow back up with them. If you tell them, I'm sorry, I'm at a disadvantage, I don't have that information right now, but I'll get back to you. And then get back to them. It goes back to your character. It's not just your character and the integrity of yourself. It's also the character and integrity of the department. So if you're telling someone, hey, I don't know, but I'll get it for you, then just follow through and do that. It's okay. You aren't always going to know what to say. But you can prepare. You know, if you prepare beforehand, you're much more likely to be successful and get the message out that you're trying to get out.
It's very interesting because you always think it's just so natural and you don't realize all the prep that goes on behind the scenes. So
There's
it's
a
kind of
lot
nice
of preparation.
to know.
There's talking points, and we have a whole process that we go through, you know, not just the PIOs, but a lot of times our experts are all of you out in the department. We don't have the depth of knowledge and information that you guys have. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, we're going out and we're saying, hey, we don't know this information, but we're going to prepare you guys to go out there and do it. But we kind of work with them and go through a process and some role playing before they get out there.
Very cool, very cool. Well, it definitely shows because they were so polished, so well done.
They do great. We have a great team.
Our next question, as a leader, how do you motivate the rest of your team to continue working?
Something that I have always tried to do is lead by example. I think that's a really important thing. If I'm expecting my employees to work hard, I'm going to work hard as well. And I will tell you that the bosses that I've had in the past that I respect the most are the ones that will dive into the trenches with you. If you have fire drills or you have something where you're working late at night on something, be there, be present, be with them because you're part of the team. And that's a really important thing is, you know, not asking of them something you wouldn't do. I think that's really important. So I try to do that. And the other thing I think is important is encouraging the heart. Encouraging the heart is really, I think, important. It makes people feel good about what they're doing. Right up there behind salary is recognition for a job well done. And I think that it's important to find ways and tools that you can do that. And one of the things that I've done, that I actually brought along because I wanted to share this with you guys, is the golden banana. Some of you might even know about the golden banana, but the golden banana in our office is something that we have what we call a stand-up meeting every day, and we kind of go over the agenda in the morning of what we're going to, you know, what are the hot things that we're working on. And on occasion, and it's not on a regular, like every such and such a day, but whenever somebody does something that you know somebody feels good about, that I want to recognize, or that one of the teammates want to recognize, we say, hey, so and so gets the golden banana, and in fact, I see two of my staff back there who have had the golden banana just this week, Erin and Marcy. So we try to pass it around on occasion, and we've even taken it to the PIO Academy, the annual PIO Academy, where the districts have experienced it a little bit. And every once in a while, I'll even give a virtual golden banana across the way to some of the district employees. So it's fun. It's fun to try to find tools where you know people enjoy it and can have fun with it too. So.
May I see the golden banana?
Of course you can.
It is not real, but it looks real. It really does.
I will tell you this, actually. I used to say, oh, you get the golden banana, but I didn't. We didn't have one physically. And one of my employees, Angela Tillotson, she's very creative, and she said, well, I'm going to go make her a golden banana, apparently. So she went to Michael's or something and came back. She actually created this and brought it back. And then another employee, Steve Brooks, one time was the recipient of the golden banana, and he actually made a display shelf with a spotlight on it. You know, so people get excited about the golden banana. It's a fun thing.
It's wonderful. I feel special holding it, so I'm going to put it right here.
You deserve a golden banana.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Our next question is, what are the most useful resources here at Caltrans that you would recommend to an employee looking to gain a better perspective into becoming a leader here?
We have so many resources. Like I said, we're a very large organization. One thing I want to say is don't forget the resources that are right in front of you, meaning the people. So many times we forget that the people that you work with, your supervisor, your coordinate, your coworkers, and your subordinates, everybody works at Caltrans. And we all have a different history, and we bring different perspectives. And it's so important to really talk with those individuals and learn from them, because they are a key resource. And throughout the entire department, if you want to learn about a certain thing, we have so many experts in this department. It's amazing, the wealth of information and knowledge. The other thing is online. We have so many online services, and I want to give huge props to our Human Resources Office, because because you guys, I mean, have so many wonderful opportunities for people to really be able to learn more about anything in the department. But between the training that's available, we have online services. We have the Toolbox Tuesdays that many of you have probably gone to. We have sessions such as these. I think those are really key. The LDO, the Learning and Development Office, has training. There are both rank and file as well as supervisory training sessions. I personally have gone to through the MTP and the LTP leadership classes. And it's not just the content that's great there, it's also the networking. You know, I've met people through those sessions that I still today keep in touch with, and when we have a problem, we'll pick up the phone and say, hey, how would you handle this? You know, those are really key things. But there's a couple of other sessions, managing excellence or something, essentials for excellence, and a couple of other ones too. So just remember, there are a lot of resources there that you can tap into. Take advantage of them. A lot of handbooks and guidebooks and all kinds of stuff. So
there are plenty of resources out there, and they're
yes.
out there for everyone to read and enjoy.
Yes.
They are there. Thank you. Well, that was the last of our emailed questions, and we're just about done. You doing okay?
I'm good. I'm good so far. Just in summary, there was one more thing that I just wanted to add. As leaders, because that's what this is, it's a leadership series, right? And I think one thing that's really important is to always be willing to self-reflect. Always be willing to be open for constructive feedback. When you have criticism, constructive feedback, whatever you want to call it, that's a gift. It's a gift to really open your eyes and listen and really look internally at how you can make improvements. So that's I think one thought that I just want to leave with people, is that there's always more ways and there's always more things that you can learn and hear about from other people that can make you better in what you do. We can all keep growing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you. And thank you to this team. I just want to give recognition because they have been phenomenal through this process and have made it so easy and fun. And so thank you so much for what you guys do.
Tamie, you're really an inspiration for me personally, and I'm sure you've inspired many today. And I'm just really excited that you are the kickoff to our new leadership interview series. So thank you so much. And I really enjoyed hearing about your values, your accomplishments, and the importance of treating each day as an interview. And I really liked what you said about the people around you and using the people around you as a resource. I agree. There's a lot of really smart people in this department that we could take advantage of better. On a personal note, too, I know working with Tamie, she makes an impact even if she doesn't know she's doing it. She's very kind and very supportive. And I know I've been the recipient of her encouragement from time to time, and I don't know if I've ever told you, but I really appreciate it, and it does make a difference. And we all make a difference in people's lives, and it's up to us to make sure it's an improvement in their lives. So thank you. I really want to thank you all for attending today, and of course all of those that have tuned in remotely. We're super excited, and we're going to have another interview in the next coming months. So if you missed part of this interview, or if you want to see it again, it is going to be available on the, is it the talent management website or workforce planning website? Okay, excellent. And I also, just one last thing, if you're a manager or supervisor, the time you spent watching this today or recorded later is, it does count towards your time for leadership training and development, so you can go ahead and make a notation in that in the learning management system, and you get credit for it. And thank you again, everybody, for coming today.